All right, everyone, welcome back to Inherent Success Podcast, where this is your guide through self discovery and your healing journey as well, where this is mainly focused on transformational stories. You're going to hear everything from coaching, business, all of the above. And today I have a special guest, my friend and my boss. My boss, my friend, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Emma, for having me. I'm super excited for this.
I'm excited too, guys. He's a very interesting man. Seriously, I'm really excited to have you on here. Just to share a little background, I actually, well, like I said, Steve is my boss. I recently started working with him and digital door knockers, and the culture and just like the vibe, just who he is as a person, just really like attracted me more to the company. Because I'm all about integrity, values, and just like who I work for is super important. So yeah, he fits all of that. But I'm super excited for you to share your story, Steve. But how are you feeling? How was the
I
holidays? What did you do for
appreciate the kind
Christmas?
words. Yeah, no, I'm feeling good. The holidays were amazing. It was really great to have my wife's side of the family over for Christmas. Spent Christmas Day with my grandma, who is the typical Italian cook who, she sent us home with more cookies than we know what to do with. But yeah, it was amazing. How about yourself? How was your Christmas?
It was good. I went to Miami and I saw my family, which was really nice. And it's funny. I want to share two things. A positive side and then like a little negative side. But anyways, I think I've shared this before. I was born and raised in Miami. I'm first generation born here, so I grew up in a Hispanic culture. Like everyone's loud, everyone's aggressive, like all of that, right? Like it's a very interesting culture. But anyways, I miss the only thing I miss about Miami is like the food and
Yeah,
just like that vibe and that culture of like speaking Spanish and just being in that energy and like that passion feeling, right? Because
yeah,
sometimes a little too much for people, and it's interesting because I was there, and then compared to being here in Sarasota, where it's just more quiet and more like timid and relaxed, and then over there I'm with my family and I'm like being loud and I'm
yeah.
being all
Fun,
spicy, and
yeah.
it's just yeah, yeah. So that's what I miss, and just also like fluently speaking Spanish too, because it's really hard to meet people here that speak Spanish. But then also, what I despise about Miami is just the like people are just not nice. I
Hmm.
swear, everywhere I would go, I would smile and I would say hi to people, and just people won't smile back. That's just sadly the culture over there. So,
I feel
yeah.
yeah. I mean, we have that in New York City, right? And in New York City, I used to work in the city for a long time. I would take the train down to Wall Street, and it was just very fast paced. And I'm not that. I'm someone that belongs in the countryside, near just fields and just good people. Where you walk into we have this place up where we have property upstate called Mrs. K's, and I maybe go there 5 or 8 times a year. But when I walk in, they're greeting me by my name. How are you? How you been? How's your
Oh, I
father?
love
Like,
that.
I love the small town feel, and just like you said, having love and compassion for everyone around you, not just like being driven on your one mission, when your one goal of what you have to accomplish over the day. It's like you have all
Mhm.
these amazing human beings around you constantly, and being able to either make their day or brighten their day, I think is super important. And when you're in those fast paced environments constantly, you lose that, and also you can lose pace of that of, and then you're on your one track, and I don't, yeah, I think it becomes like a unhealthy environment. You know what I mean?
It does, and it kind of brings you out of character. And I mean, we won't stay long on this topic, but it kind of brings you out of character a little bit, like if you allow it.
Yeah,
But it really is true. Like your environment is so important. I would catch myself like being angry. I don't know.
yeah.
Like I would be driving and I'm like angry, and I would tell my boyfriend Jonathan, I'm like, I don't know what it is about being in this city, but it gets me so. It just gets me angry.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, versus like here in Sarasota, where it's more of like a small town and everyone is really nice and everyone's sweet. People say hi to you, people hold the door for you. Like it's definitely a different vibe for sure. So I get
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So yeah, Steve, I mean, I would love for you to kind of like share with the audience, what exactly do you do? Like, what do you specialize in? Like, if you can just sum up in like a small summary of what your work entails and what you currently
Yeah,
do.
I would say that I'm a digital marketer. I specialize in digital advertising when it comes to Facebook, TikTok, Google, YouTube, you name it. I've taken any course under the sun on it, and just really dove into that area. Yeah, so that's my work entails that, specifically working with home improvement companies, trying to help scale their companies from the ground up. Um, and taking them to that next level, creating an omnipresence that's not marketing through the typical um, like offline marketing channels of just radio, TV, where no one's really seeing those anymore, right? People are on their phones, people are listening to their Spotify or YouTube, and getting them back in front of people's eyes, and where their dollars can be most impactful. So that's my love. My love is in media buying. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, we can kind of like take it back a little bit too. So, where originally are you from? Like, did you come from like a family that had like their own business? Like, how did you get into all of this? Where did
Yeah,
that start?
so I actually grew up in a blue collar home. My father has a construction company, and I, excuse me, I worked on it from when I was a kid. And just being around him, specifically my dad, he has always been a visionary or he would always teach me like, if you can think of a patent or something that we can sell for millions of dollars. Like, he kept me very creative. So my father was a visionary. He would always kind of tell me to think creatively, or I could think of something that we could patent and trademark and then sell to a big company one day. We could make our money. We could retire him, and like, life would be great, right? So ever since I was 5 or 6 years old, I was very young, and he would always tell me to think creatively. Um, and that kept me always wondering what else is out there. What more can we do? And since that, I grew up in that type of world of a blue collar type of home. And we were, we lived well, but not like, we lived north of the tracks in my neighborhood, which is like not, all the rich people live south of the tracks by the water and all that. So I was always curious of like, what's it like to live down there? You know what I mean? And I ended up meeting my best friend when I got to high school. He was the best man at my wedding, and his father was his father was a certified financial advisor, and I saw everything that he had, and I was like, I gotta learn from him. So I almost look at it like my rich dad, poor dad type of situation of like,
Yeah.
this guy has everything together. He lives nice. He has beautiful cars. Like, how can I learn from him and be part of that? So moving from that, when I went into college, as soon as I could, I became an intern with their company at Northwestern Mutual, and I wanted to learn everything. I just became a student on just properly setting yourself up financially, which was a huge, huge benefit. Learning at a young age as well of like how to properly save for the future, which long term this will come back into everything that I'm doing today. But I found meaning in how important it is to set yourself up for the future and making the correct decisions. And but in that space, I was always confined because when you're a financial advisor, you're very limited to how you can market yourself or market your company. I started building my own book of business, and I was becoming an advisor for a good book of people, but I wasn't passionate about it. I kept kind of just falling off of like, I'm doing it just because I think this is what I should be doing. Um, and then I finally made the leap into, because I've been constantly I would find things on being a media buyer or how to advertise yourself or e-commerce, and I was falling in love with that, and I was trying to mend that into being a financial advisor, but compliance would always tell me no, 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 no. So from there, I unfortunately had to say no, leave being a financial advisor, and I went out on my own to learn e-commerce marketing and go full force into that, because I was still young. I knew what I was capable of, and if I'm going to take risks, now's the time I'm going to take risks. Um, so in that time, I started a company called Threads for Education, where we sold clothing to benefit a school in Ghana. So I had a relationship with a friend who had a relationship with someone in Ghana, who had an amazing, beautiful school where they helped fund to create an environment where kids could go and get an education and show up and know they're getting an education. Because unfortunately in Ghana, there's most government funded schools, kids will walk 3 miles to school and the teacher won't be there to go teach them, because they're paid no matter what. They're paid whether they show up to school or not.
Wow.
And and I saw the amazing, beautiful things the school was doing, and I was like, how can we benefit them best? So we started old school selling stuff at. We started old school with selling things at like farmers markets and whatever we can, and then we created a website online, and then we learned everything from affiliate marketing, working with celebrities online, trying to get them to promote our stuff. And that created a pivot for me of, I was always talking about online marketing and how to use affiliate marketing or influencer marketing to get in front of more people. And I was presented an opportunity to work with a supplement manufacturing company where they were working with a ton of people to create supplements. And there was a lot of one-time orders, because whether it's like, say, stockbrokers that are just have a dream to go create a supplement, and then it's like, good luck, see if you can sell it. And then we created a new type of system where we would sell to influencers, create products around those influencers, and then they would then help to sell them. So I dove pretty heavy into that space because I was enjoying it, and it was a lot of fun for me because it was connecting a lot of things I love: being healthy, using the right supplements, and marketing, right? So then I would start working with all these different companies, and I would teach them what they should start doing after they launch their product. So I started working with these companies and helping them create lines of product behind them and their influencers. And I would always go on a marketing call with them of just like what their next steps are to launch and how to market themselves or how to like set themselves apart. And I would always talk about advertising on Meta and whatnot. And some conversations started leading to like, this is great. Can you just do it for us? And sooner or later, I just started saying yes. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So as soon as I started saying yes, I started investing into a ton of material online of like, how do I do this properly? I've only like looked on YouTube and whatnot. And I only had so much to go off of. So from trial and error of working with other clients and whatnot, I found a formula for success, and I started building a company around that of just marketing e-commerce companies and helping them grow. And it was such a fun journey. I mean, it was my first taste of truly impacting people in a way that I have not perceived before. Like we worked with this one company where when I first started working with them, they were only doing maybe 10, 20 grand a month. And over a course of a year with them, I was able to scale their company to doing $1 million months. And
Wow.
before that, he was working a job. He was doing this part time, and they lived okay, but transforming his life into making $1 million months and being able to uh, take his family on vacations and being able to buy the house of his dreams, it was a very cool thing to see. And then from that love, I always wanted to give back to my roots of working with home improvement companies, helping them grow, and do the same thing for them. Because I saw what this amazing vehicle does online and with e-commerce brands. Why not do that for companies that I already know? So we started just dabbling, seeing what we could do. I got referred to a handful of companies in the roofing space, and just gonna take some water. Um, we saw a ton of success, and not just like in big rural areas, but I remember we had a client in Odessa, Texas, where we scaled them so fast that they wanted to turn everything off because they couldn't handle the amount of
Wow.
leads that were pouring through. They were like, we can't call all these leads. I'm like, oh, you can't call them. What if we called them? Um, so then we added appointment setting into everything that we're doing, and sooner or later, it just became so much of a thing where we needed to branch off and call ourselves something. So, digital door knockers was born, um, and the team just kept growing. I never wanted to say no to more referrals. So because of that, I always wanted to hire, but be very cognizant of who we hire, what type of talent they are, because my biggest fear, and will always be my biggest fear, is quality of service. Because I know if I work
Hmm.
one-on-one with a client, one, communication is going to be very clear. I can talk with them on a consistent basis and make sure that they have clear expectations. Their ads are running, and we have creative copy, editing done. Everything is as perfect as possible. And then, yeah, hiring was one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn. But um, now, with like you were saying at the beginning, our team is just amazing. And it's something I'm grateful for every day, of being able to work with such talented individuals that are all focused on one goal, which is give amazing quality results to homeowners and home improvement companies to help grow their companies.
I love that. Yeah, and it's very interesting how at such a young age you were able to be so inspired to, work for yourself pretty much because as you know, like young kids, they're focused on all the wrong things. They're still growing up, they're still maturing, they're still developing. I mean, it also just comes down to like your environment, right? Like the
Yep.
nurturing side. Like if your parents, because I don't think it's more of I don't think it's like, okay, like if you come from a rich family or a poor family, I think it ultimately comes down to the values that the parents provide, right? The
100%.
love and the care. Because there are children that are in very wealthy families, but grow up so corrupt because it ultimately comes down to being neglected, right? And then there are children where they grow up in a very poor environment, they're corrupt for a little bit, then they change their lives or whatever, but then they're also children in that environment that they grow up and then they're so self-aware and like, you know what, I want to get out of this. I'm going to start now. I'm not going to
Yeah.
wait until later on. So it ultimately just comes down to your environment. It's very interesting that you said when you were like from age 5 your dad was teaching you things, he was talking to you, and he actually cared and
Yeah.
he nurtured you so well. So like, and then going into high school, having those creative ideas and having that creative mindset, what would be your, I mean, because this generation is very interesting. I mean, I'm not that much older than you, but at least like in when I was growing up, we I didn't have, I had Facebook when I was like 19 or 20. And
Hmm.
then what we had on our time was just like MySpace.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember
I
MySpace, but
remember MySpace, your
yeah.
top seven, or yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, like MySpace. So it's not like how it is today, how young kids, like the Gen Z and like really young people are becoming successful, but like in a really fast way because of the technology and everything that's available to us now. It's very interesting how even in the leadership academy that I was in,
Yeah,
um, there were young like young people there, people in like 20s, 23, 24. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had this
yeah,
when I was 24, I was 23. Even Ali, like for example, I want to
yeah,
bring him up because he's a great person, and he's an amazing human being, and he's doing so well in in our sales department. He's so young, and
yeah,
just him having access to all of these tools and all of these this type of technology that they have today. It's like you just see the younger demographic becoming a lot more successful nowadays. It's
yeah. I
interesting.
think it's like social media, and I like want to point out what you said, and it's like it's so true. Like we have access to so much more information now, and like there's two ways to use it, right? You can either mind melt yourself,
Hmm.
or you can take it and use it as a tool to create mentors for yourself that you might not have ever had before, right? So the way I look at social media is, of course, I follow the people I love and care about, but what's most important to me is following people that are in the next stages of where I want to be. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like creating a vision board for yourself of like and a knowledge dump of the things that you want to learn and people that you want to be around. And the people I used to follow that I was almost just trying to learn from are now people that I get to step on stage with and get to share information with because of taking everything I learned from social media, the people I follow, the steps that they take, learning from their lessons learned and then applying that myself has catapulted me forward in a way that is almost unbelievable. And it's like it's taking that same thing as like show me your seven closest friends and I'll show you your future.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing with like show me the people that you follow on your social media and I'll show you your future.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Like follow the people that you want to achieve something similar to them and use that as either your motivation fuel, your brain fuel, whatever you need, whatever tools that you need to incorporate into your life, and then take action on those things. Take whatever you learned and put action into it. And that's what's actually going to create change within your life that you want to see.
Hmm. I don't know if you know who Jim Ron is, but Jim Ron, oh my gosh.
I don't know Jim Brown.
Look him up.
Okay.
Okay, so do you know Jordan Peterson?
Yes, of course.
So I like to say that Jordan Peterson is like the modern day Jim Ron.
Okay.
Jim Ron is like he died in the year 2000, but he is old. He's an old school philosopher and a motivational speaker. He actually, Tony Robbins used to go to his seminars, and he was Tony Robbins' one of his mentors.
Oh, really?
Jim Rohn is amazing. So look him up on YouTube when we're done here and just like listen to him. He's very old school, so it's like the videos will sound very old, but
Yeah.
it's like very simple. He teaches you the fundamentals of life, and he talks about the seasons of life. And there's something that he said that's very interesting to kind of like piggyback on what you were saying. He said your mind is a mental factory. So
Hmm.
everything that you put into that mental factory, all the ingredients that you're putting in, that's what you're going to generate and that's what you're going to create. And everything that you consume, everything that all the people that you talk to, the conversations that you have, the type of music that you listen to, just anything that you listen to, you're planting seeds in your mind. So the social media thing, it's so important, and it can be a powerful tool or it can be a tool that it can be extremely toxic and detrimental to your life. Just depends on how you want to use it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you as well. When I started I don't follow any celebrities.
Me
I
either.
don't follow any celebrities. I don't follow music artists. I don't none of that. The people that I follow are like motivational speakers, like people that are doing big things. Like I just recently started following like all of these like famous sales reps and sales coaches, like because I want to learn, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're on social media, it's a great tool as long as you're willing to use it to your advantage to learn and absorb a lot of information and also networking too. It's
Yeah.
a great tool that you can use to network. Um, but yeah, I mean, what would be your advice to these young people, that these young men or just young men and women that are looking into starting a business, right? Because
Yeah.
starting a business is not easy, especially in the digital marketing
It's
world.
not going to be easy. You're going to fail, and the people that are successful are the people that continue to fail forward. Of like, just because one thing doesn't work, it doesn't mean you give up. It's something that you continue to work on to practice and get better over time. And like with that, there's like, here's a crazy, and this is very Gary Vee of me, but like whatever you're passionate about, go make something of it. Like there's people on TikTok that make crazy livings just off of doing the things that they love. Whether it's like you can create a blog about it, or you can create a podcast and monetize that podcast, or whatever it may be, find what you're passionate about and just double down on it. Or like that could be a pathway into finding something else. Right. I fell in love with marketing, and I trip tripped down this path into digital door knockers. Did I ever think digital door knockers was going to become a thing? Absolutely not. Am I
Mm-hmm.
super happy with it and super proud of where we came? 100%. So it's like, just because you start somewhere doesn't mean that's where you're going to end.
Oh
So
yeah.
go forward, find something that you absolutely love, double down on it, and if you don't have something that you love, if there's something that like you're just like, I want to be able to make money, go learn a high value skill online. YouTube University, it's free. You know what I mean? Like you can go on YouTube, you can learn all these amazing skills and be able to apply them online in a digital marketplace and be able to sell those skills, and then sooner or later build out a team to do that for you. Whether it's copywriting, media buying, blogging, PR, social media management, like there's sales, you know what I mean? Like there are so many different ways to learn a skill that is worth so much more to the consumer or the business that wants to work with you. So if you can refine that skill, make it really, really good, and then go on the marketplace and go sell that skill, you'll be able to see multitudes of success, but you need to fail forward. Everything, not every single relationship is going to be perfect. Not every single business transaction is going to be perfect, but you need to learn from your experience and move forward and continue to grow.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of failure, and that's why people don't start something new or are not willing to, start like their own business or anything in that nature because they're just afraid of failure. You're going to fail. It's inevitable, but it's not
Yep.
necessarily failing. You're just learning,
It's learned
right?
lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, you're learning a lot of lessons, you're developing skills, you're just becoming more equipped to handle anything that comes your way in business and life. And I really do believe that, in order to become competent, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to look stupid. You have to be willing to just be willing to learn different skills. Like at least for me, like anything I do, I become obsessed with it and I just start learning more about it. I start studying more about it. And like, for example, like this podcast, this is a project that I have on the side, but I could have easily been like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, what if I fail? Or what are people going to think of me? Or I don't know how to do a podcast. But if I would have stayed in that mindset of, oh, what if, like, this is not going to work out because I don't know how to do a podcast, I would have never launched this podcast. So a lot of people just stick to that perfectionism or everything has to be perfect or I need
Yeah.
to learn how to do everything instead of just like going for it and failing forward as you're doing that thing that you want to do.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys, we'll get right back into the episode. I just wanted to take a quick break here to share with you guys that I do not make any money on this podcast. My goal and my purpose with Inherent Success is to be that guide for individuals in their self-discovery journey. So if you found any value in this episode, make sure to like, to subscribe, and if you know anyone that could benefit from the episode or the podcast overall, you can share with a friend as well. Now, let's get back into it.
And it's like one thing that I think is a hard lesson for people to learn a lot of the times too is they try to do everything at once. Excuse me. And what I mean by that is like, take digital door knockers for an example. Like, we could be doing cold email. We could be cold calling people. We could be doing 100 different things to get people in to learn about digital door knockers. But we only do paid ads. We only get people on a paid ads basis, or they refer over to us, and that's how we grow our company. If you kind of get lost in the sauce of trying to do too many things at once, you kind of just wear yourself down thin, and it's hard to create systems that way. Systems are what ends up growing companies. It's what helps growing practices of getting bigger and growing. So sometimes it's just like doubling down on one thing that's working really, really well, going all in on that until it's at its max, right? So that's one thing, like, when it comes to starting anything, is like double down on one thing. Don't get shiny object syndrome. Focus on that one thing and help grow it out, perfect it, and then move on to the next.
Yeah. I think also too what I've seen in the past and like recently with people as well is that with the shiny object syndrome, like people want to do all these different things, or when you start a business or you start something, people want that instant gratification and don't understand that like it's you have to get used to that delayed gratification, right? And understand
Mm-hmm.
that this is a process. Like, have you seen that as well? Like when someone starts something and they get impatient, they're like, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore, and it's only been like what, 4 months?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, like, I've seen that with, I've seen it with a handful of things. And like, I even coach other agencies where I help them perfect their processes, try to create a white glove experience, and then from there grow it out. And you're going to be hitting your head against the wall sometimes. I mean, some companies you'll see where it's like the delayed gratification is you're you're making some money, but you're reinvesting a lot of that money to either grow or get better. And yeah, you're not going to see that nice little payday unless you continue to perfect the process, continue to work things to make it better. And yeah, you're it's a bumpy road. It's never You'll never see a smooth growth line for any company in the world, right? It's
Right.
you're going to hit some peaks, and you're going to hit some valleys of just work, and in the very beginning, there's a ton of those. So it's very easy to give up, but giving up is the easier thing. But
Hmm.
you'll never get that true delayed gratification of having an amazing business that is being able to, one, take care of your family, take care of your employees' families, and then also making something that's worth something. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's important to fasten your seatbelt and be locked in and say that I'm giving this, give it a year. Give it, after that year, say I'm going to give it 2 years, and continue to progress and move forward.
Yeah, it's in the delayed gratification in the process also where you really get to see the type of person that you become.
Yeah.
Because it's not what you get, it's who you're becoming throughout that process. You just become like a whole different person. And in order to, I mean, at least for me, like this is what I truly believe is like in order to really achieve success, like what's really important is the person that you become.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the money, it's not the status, it's just become like stepping into this new version, this truest version of yourself in order to get those things. Because, in the beginning, like when I started like my first business venture, I was like 22. I was really young.
Yeah.
And I got the idea. I was like 21 going into 22 and getting the idea of like, okay, I want to be a coach. I want to, own my own business. I want to make a lot of money, like all these things. But I thought in my mind, the way, and I always bring this up, it's such a simple metaphor, but in my mind, I thought, okay, I just got to brush all of my past, my wounds, like everything that I have to work on under the rug. No one has time for that. I just got to do. I just got to work. I just got to do all of that. And then once I have the things that I want, then I get to be this person, right?
Yes.
Be this new version of myself. But
Hmm.
no, it's who do I get to become in order to do the things that I want to do and then have everything that I want to have. Like it's be, do, have.
Yep. A hundred
Yeah.
percent. Rent is due every single day. What is the rent that you're going to pay to move forward to become the person that you want to be or should be in order to get the things that in the long run that you actually want?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's so important. And like as you grow, and like one thing that I found is super important is like you need to lead by example, right? Especially as you have team and every more people to manage, they all follow suit to what you're bringing to the table. So the more that you can lead by example, do what is right for yourself, and doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, and then also do that for your team members, it repays full all into culture, and having your team take care of each other because you're doing that yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. 100%. Well, what was the most challenging part in building your business?
Learning how to delegate. Um, I was a very uh, GSD type of guy, get shit done.
Mm.
So I was very everything from like speaking with clients and making sure billing's good, and then like creating automations, and a lot of that was always on me. So I was like, go, 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 go. But then when it comes to learning to delegate tasks and wanting to make sure that it's done perfectly, but also you don't want to micromanage because no one likes that, right?
Mm.
So learning how to properly delegate, educate, and promote was one of the harder things for me, because I've never been in that space of managing other people. Um, so that was hard, but it was overcome just by practice. It's just like sooner or later, you need to let go of certain tasks to be able to buy back time on the tasks that are either helping bring in more revenue or helping to make your service a better quality service. Um, and that was something that was definitely hard, but as I've really focused over the past 2 years, just like exercising that muscle and being able to do that myself, but then also empower my team to do it themselves as well. Um, so it's been the most I've gotten the most gratitude from that as well, is empowering myself to empower my team and delegate as much as possible of what's needed to move the needle forward. But yeah,
I think that's leadership is always the hardest thing. When it comes to leading people and becoming a leader yourself, it's something that I think it's always going to be challenging, and it's always there's always room for improvement. Um, because to me, I think leadership is not just a form of authority. It's, how are you leading your life? How are
yeah,
you leading others? How are you showing up not only for yourself, but how are you showing up for the people in your life, and not just in your workspace? It can be, what are you doing behind closed doors? um this can be maybe be off topic, but I was listening to a podcast today while I was working, and And I'm gonna send it to you. It's very interesting. It's with I forgot the name of the guest, but he basically used to train like CIA agents. He's trained people to work on like their mindset and their body language when it comes to like I guess like manipulation, sales, like all of that. It was very interesting, and he was talking about how our body language and how our energy, our gut energy, basically impacts everything, and how you do literally that phrase, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And he was saying that, like, for example, let's say because you can, I can be the best, probably the best salesperson in the world, or I can put up a front and I can act like everything is fine and I'm smiling on this stuff, but energetically, like, let's say like I probably have like a messy room, or I have like a pile of laundry. Like, if there are certain things in your life, like your environment, he talked about it, he's like, your environment, your finances, your social life, and there was other things too. I'll share with you. It was so interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is.
it's it's 2 hours long, but he was talking about how your energy, and if like things in your life is not okay, then like energetically you feel that and you project that in when you're like leading people, or when you're doing sales, when you're doing like certain things in your life. So I feel like that really correlates with like what we do,
Yeah,
as far as like our body language, because I can tell you, yeah, everything's fine, but then like energetically it's not.
yeah.
It was very interesting.
Energies is something that everyone can read in some way or form of
Oh
how
yeah.
is someone doing that day. It's I also have facial diarrhea, so me being a leader, I always need to make sure I'm on it because I will. If I'm
Facial
not
tech.
okay, it's pretty obvious. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's energy is super important, and like that comes through like as you grow a team. It's like I always think about it as like we've all had bosses, right? Who are our favorite and why? Who weren't our favorite and why? And it's like, how can I embody that? Because toxicity and culture comes from the top down.
Oh yeah, duplication.
Yeah, exactly. And if for some reason I'm not empathetic, I'm not. I have closed ears. I'm I'm not giving my team the tools they need to succeed. It's not their fault if they start falling off. That's my fault. I'm not there to help them. Like same thing when it comes to having to let go of a team member for XYZ reasons, whatever they may be. It's always a question of like what could we have done to either better hold accountable, better educate, better uh, cultivate this team member to get their job done and hit their KPIs. What was what we did that fell off? And there is always at
Mhm.
least one thing. There's never a we did everything perfect and that guy just sucks, right?
Mhm.
There's whether it's anything from the interview process forward that we could have done or during ramp up to having them do their job. There's always something that you could have done better to help make their life better and actually get their job done. And I think that's some people always miss out on. And like as leaders, they overlook it and they say, "Well, they're an employee. Their job is to go do their job. If they don't do their job, it's their fault." And it's like, yeah, but they need the help along the way. And like life happens. We're all individuals. You're an individual. You have your life. What happens at home should stay at home, but if it's going to come into work, right? Because our energy feeds off that way. And it's like, how can I help and be empathetic towards my team members if they have something going on at home or they need help with a specific problem, or if it's work wise, how can I make it so that I have an open door if that they're facing a problem, they feel comfortable with asking me with finding the resource or guiding them towards the resource to make it happen.
Mhm.
Um, so, and I think so way too many leaders, and I see this unfortunately in our space all the time of like, hey, you're like, this is your job, go get it done. And especially in a virtual work environment, it's it's not that easy to hold people accountable and make sure they're getting it done.
Yeah, I don't like I've seen this as well where a lot of leaders have like this fixed mindset and they're not open for growth. They're not open to see like, okay, like how can I improve so
Yeah,
my people are doing good? Because I don't want to say leadership is being selfless. Leadership is really thinking about other people, right? It's like a purpose bigger than yourself, pretty much,
yeah,
right? Because I don't want to say selfless because I used to say that, but like if you say selfless, then you're basically thinking like, okay, I'm pouring from an empty cup and I'm not
yeah,
taking care of myself first. So that doesn't exist. But I've seen a lot of leaders where they claim to be leaders and then they don't act like leaders and they just have like this fixed mindset and it's all like micromanagement and they think just because they have this title that that's what makes them a leader, and it's not the title, it's like who you are as a person, right?
yeah,
Like what values do you have, like what is your character, like that's what I see as a leader. Because I can and I've seen people that, you know, I don't want to name names because we're not going to do that here, but I've seen people that the society praise, right?
yeah,
And they claim to be this leader or this influencer or this person that's making an impact, but they're not really loving, they're only loving to their group and they're so selective. Like there's just so many different components when it comes to being a leader, like the
yeah.
definition of being a leader. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like everything. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised, and YouTube University, read a ton of books, get better at it every single day. But it's like, yeah, it's at the end of the day, like if you want to achieve something big, you normally achieve that with a group. You don't do it all yourself. And with that group, you need to be able to empower them, show them the vision, show them where they live within that vision, and be able to grow each other, grow in with impact. Is so important. But yeah, it's I think it's well overlooked by way too many people.
Give me a second. I'm My headphones died. One
No
second.
problem.
We'll
I'm
cut
gonna,
this out. Okay. Okay. All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Sweetness.
No problem. Okay, I lost my train of thought. Now I was listening to you and then my headphones started dying and then you just started clearing away. I was like, no. Oh, we're good. Yeah, so I completely agree with you 100% when it comes to that. Now, I kind of want to just like piggyback a little bit on what you were saying earlier when it comes to, you know, finding the right path. I really
Yeah.
do believe that success is like different avenues because you're not just going to do one thing. I feel like that's boring. I feel like you're not living life like that,
Hmm.
unless you want to become a doctor or I don't know, like like something that requires that you have to go to college. um, but I just truly believe that success is going to take you through different avenues and you're going to have different vehicles.
Oh,
Like, for
100%.
example, yeah, like, for example, for me, you know, I was in coaching, I was a personal trainer, I did multi level marketing, I did network marketing for such a long time. And I was in a multi level marketing company and I thought that that was it. I
Yeah.
was like, this is it. This is the holy grail. This is my future. That's what I want to be. Top 1% of the company.
Yeah.
And I held on for so long, but then I realized, you know, sadly, I did that. Not sadly, because it was such a beautiful chapter in my life. I learned so much, and everything that I've learned from that, I implemented into today. I did that. I held on for 9 years, just holding on to that company because I had faith and I had hope. And there's nothing wrong with that, but
Hmm.
your greatest work, sometimes you just haven't found that yet. You're going to find your greatest work in
Oh,
maybe
100%.
like in the third detour that you had. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would love your input on that since you've done
100%.
different things.
Like
Yeah.
I've had 100 different routes that
Yeah.
I could have taken. Like I remember in college, I started a website called The Successful Neighbor. and it was a blog about being successful and tools you can use online and stuff like that. And I was like the Gary V of my college. I was like, oh, you can do whatever you want and be successful. And so I had that. I don't even know if that website's still alive. I know I still own the domain because I want to write a book one day called The Successful Neighbor. But anywho, yeah, I mean, I had 100 different paths. I designed websites. I what else did I do? I used to do anything and everything I can to get a taste of something and to learn from it. And I could have held on to any of those things and probably still became as successful as we are today with digital door knockers, but it was because of the path of new educations, new people, new networks that led me into this. And I just fell in love and wanted to pursue and go harder. So it's like you're going to stumble. You're going to find new things. You're gonna. What else did I used to do? I used to drop ship clothing. I had a
Oh wow.
ton of different e-commerce stores. I had an e-commerce store for pet supplies, and I was growing that up, and I was having fun doing it. But then, like, I think one thing is, and I used to trade options, and I made money. I made great money trading options, But the the funny thing is like with all that, it can also be distractions from something that you could be doubling down on and focusing a little bit harder on, right? So
Hmm.
like as I really started really focusing and growing digital door knockers, it's like this is going to get 120% of my energy. I'm not designing websites anymore. I'm not doing any of the stock trading. I'm not doing any of this drop shipping nonsense. This is what I'm doing, and I'm giving it 120% of my energy. So it's like like you can do a bunch of different things and get a taste. I think that's so important. Go try new things. That is so important.
Yeah.
The big but factor is like when you find it and when you think you find it, double down. Like give that your soulful energy of what's important to you, because you're never going to make it far. Just spread thin, basically.
Hmm.
So I think that's super important. Read the book One Thing. That was a very impactful book for me. But go all in on that one thing, stumble, play around. But yeah, I think it's very important to just get a taste of things that find interest in you and find ways that maybe you could monetize that and make it a way of life and live your passion project. Is digital door knockers my end all be all passion project? I wouldn't say so. Um, but it's something that I love to do. It's something that I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to chat with my team and grow this amazing vehicle together. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to have future ventures down the road of more things that I'm more intertwined with and absolutely love, and we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of like goes back to that saying, like, if you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work. And I also heard something interesting. I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I don't know if you watch Modern Wisdom.
No,
Steve, I gotta get you on the
you
podcast
got to get me
game.
on these. I'm all over like Andrew Huberman, and like I'm a big bioscience nerd on the
Okay. Okay, so I gotta introduce you to some self-development
yeah,
podcast stuff. Yeah, Modern Wisdom and Diary of the CEO. Those
nice.
are the top. Andrew Huberman was on both Modern
Oh,
Wisdom
nice.
and Diary of the CEO. Yeah,
I'm
but
a big
he
audiobook
said,
guy, so I'll send you my audiobooks and you send me the podcast.
"Okay, deal, good deal." Um, in Modern Wisdom, he shared a quote from someone, and I forgot their name, but I'm probably going to butcher it. But he said it when they say that when you feel like when you're doing something that you love, it doesn't feel like work is a crock of shit. What it mostly feels like it's going to feel like the tools are just lighter in your hand, like there's more passion behind it instead of just like making like you're still working,
Hmm.
but technically it just feels a lot easier.
Yes.
Um, so I'm definitely going to send you that podcast so you can listen to it. I butchered it, but it really does correlate with that phrase of like, if you do what you love, it doesn't really feel like work,
It's so
you
true.
know? Yeah, and just like doing it consistently on every single day and dedicating to that and not doing 100 different things
But
because if,
there's something very important to that factor, right? Like,
yeah.
Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, he says this very well, right? Of like, say you are you're a baker and you love baking cookies, cakes, and like you're an artist and you get all these referrals because you make all these amazing things and you start building a business, right? And sooner or later you hire someone to help do the baking for you, and then you hire someone to do deliveries for you and the art for you and whatever it may be, and now someone's doing the cards for you, and then you wake up one day and all you're doing is billing and invoicing,
Hmm.
and you are no longer doing you're in a job, you're working a 9 to 9 now, and you're just miserable because you are now doing everything that you don't love. You took a passion that you lit you on fire, and you absolutely just wanted to grow something amazing out of it, but you delegated all the wrong things. So
Hmm.
one thing that is super important as you follow those passion projects is learning to buy back your time towards the things that are most impactful towards your business and that also still light you on fire. Because that is what's going to take your business 10 times, 10x forward. So instead of hiring someone to do the baking and everything, hire someone else to do the cashier and hire someone else to do billing and invoicing and hire someone else to do all the smaller tasks so that you can take your impactful time doing the parts that you love, the decorating, the baking,
To
the
be
whatever.
creative.
Yeah.
I love that. What is that book called? What's the name of that book?
Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Buy back your time.
I'll send that audiobook your way as you send me the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, send me the audio. I love that. Well, we're coming to an end here because we can talk for hours,
Yeah.
but I would love for you to share like what is your vision? I know you mentioned that you're probably going to do other business ventures too, but like what is your vision right now like with digital door knockers? Like where do you want to take it? And if you have other plans, other future plans for yourself as well.
Yeah. Digital door knockers, I plan to grow it to a point where it's the number one growth agency in the home service space, having all the tools that a home service provider needs to help grow their business. Whether it's financing tools, whether it's CRM tools, there's a lot of different products that we'll be scaling into in 2025. But basically making a vehicle for home service providers to help grow themselves, not just through paid ads, but everything that they need to help grow their company, and also give the education tools for them so that they know what steps they need to take when they should be hiring who, how the proper processes uh, on having KPIs for their team and growing their team. So the vision for digital door knockers is give as much value as possible and being able to be a go-to service for every home improvement company. That's the main goal. Growing that, making it into the behemoth, and then sooner or later, maybe we'll sell the company. And my vision, mine and my wife's vision, is one day we want to buy a cabin on a winery, run the winery, and then I want to put a brewery on that winery.
Oh, that's
Um,
dope.
and we could have like we can rent it out for wedding ceremonies and whatnot, and just like have some nice land in the countryside to enjoy to ourselves, but also get to enjoy with other people that are visiting in and whatnot. That's like so the actual company, the holding company is called Hunter Acres. And the idea was to that was the visionary of like one day we're gonna have Hunter Acres vineyard, and that came from my middle name is Hunter, and I'm also an avid hunter as well. So the idea always came as like, let's just get a bunch of land. I can go hunt on it. My wife can have a nice winery on it, and we can cater weddings and whatnot, which is something that she enjoys as well, and just make something fun for the both of us, so that like even if we're retired, we can be working and still enjoy what we do. You know what I mean?
I love that. That
Yeah,
is so fun.
that's the
At the
vision.
end of it, happy wife, happy life.
That's it. That's it.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, I'm excited for you. And I have one more question. So I love this question because everyone says something different, but what does inherent success mean to you?
Inherent success. What does inherent success mean to me? I think inherent success is more than dollar signs. I think inherent success is being successful in who you are, and who you choose to be. So, and almost getting to self actualization, right? Of like being comfortable in your own shoes, being successful in who you want to be. And then with that comes success from whatever field or path that you choose to go down. That's what I believe inherent success is.
I love that. It's so interesting. Everyone says something different. I'm like here expecting people to say like the same generic thing, like it's what you inherit when you're born, like all the gifts. But it's just so awesome to hear what people have to say. I love that. Thank
Love
you.
it.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for being on the show today. Your story was amazing. This episode was amazing. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram _Steve Hunter, or you can find me on Facebook, Steven Juergensen. Happy to connect.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's episode. If you found any value in today's episode, make sure to share with a friend, like, subscribe, and also put on the notifications to be notified for the next episode. Stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you.